Right now, though, I'm joined by one of my favorites, Jeremy Saland. I said Saland before, but I was incorrect. Jeremy, thanks for joining us tonight. You are a lawyer extraordinaire. Do you want to introduce yourself to our audience any other way as well?
Hey, yeah, my mom thinks I'm the best lawyer.
Oh,
I'm a former Manhattan
mom's right.
prosecutor, and I am a criminal defense attorney right here in Gotham.
All
That's
right, well,
me.
you are the perfect person to have a conversation with about Jeffrey Epstein. The files, President Trump just signed it late last night, and DOJ now has 30 days. We heard from Pam Bondi. She said, yes, we're going to follow the law. I always listen. They parse the language very, very carefully. Why do I mention that? Because there's 100,000 documents relating to his suicide, relating to his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, and all kinds of other things. And we all know he had powerful friends, including Prince Andrew. So talk to regular folks who didn't go to law school about how long, I know they have 30 days, but how much of this stuff are we really going to see, and how much of it's going to be redacted, and why?
Do not hold your breath. Do not expect a big dump of documents. Do not expect a windfall of information. It's simply not going to happen. This is really just a shell game and a sham. And why I say that is because you don't need a judge to release grand jury minutes. You don't need Congress and the Senate to pass legislation. You need Donald Trump to simply say, this is the documents, these are the documents, and I'm going to release them. He has that ability. Yes, you would expect redactions. You don't want to show child pornography if it's there. You don't want to hurt victims and subject them to anything again. But let me just say this, Sharon, that the fact that there's a carve out that says if it impedes or there's an ongoing investigation or an active investigation, we can withhold. Well, guess what? There was that DOJ and FBI letter that said we are done. There is no other investigation, only a few months ago. And now Donald Trump wants the DOJ to investigate Democrats. That's going to be his tool, his sword, to slay this legislation and not share anything. Because why? There's an active investigation, even though there really isn't.
And the survivors, we saw the survivors, Epstein survivors, women who say they were abused by him when they were underage teenage girls, lured by Ghislaine Maxwell and others to his private island and his jet and his homes here on the Upper East Side for untoward activities, etc. And those ladies are going to be very angry. They say they've been working decades to get the names of powerful men. Why don't they just say them out loud? Are they worried they could be sued?
I don't think it's so much about being sued. I think you have to sort of read between the lines here and not even do so. You were told that this was going to be very transparent, and now you're being told little to nothing. And now we're being told there's some Democrats that the Department of Justice, based on what Donald Trump wants them to do, to investigate, despite this being on for years and years and years. So you never want to throw anyone's name out there, certainly, because there is due process. And just the statement of that name, as we saw with Summers, who wasn't convicted of anything, the former Harvard president, that was epically damaging to him. So you want to be careful about what you say, because it could be true or it could not be true. But here we have a pause, and I don't expect us to get the information that the public really wants anytime soon, and certainly not full.
Will we learn anything, do you think? 100,000 files. I mean, there must be something in there that we didn't know already. I mean, I feel like I know enough about what Epstein is accused of. And what will we learn maybe about Ghislaine Maxwell? Because there's a lot of critics to the fact that she was got somewhat of a sweetheart deal to be moved to a cushier prison than where she was.
Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to be on lockdown, because that's internally within the Department of Justice, where Trump's former attorney, who now is a senior person within the Department of Justice, met with Maxwell. I don't expect that to come out. There may be some evidence about what was going on without naming any particular child who was horribly victimized, where things occurred. And there could be some people who are named, but you're going to get sort of just the periphery, the edges, but the lacking of the substance. I say again, Sharon, I wouldn't hold your breath. I just don't think it's going to be there for self-preservation reasons, potentially, even though the president hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing in terms of a crime, but maybe some people close to him. We can speculate. We all want to see it to know.
And what about, we've been told that we may learn more about Jeffrey Epstein's suicide in a federal detention center in Lower Manhattan in 2019. We've all seen the tape, and then there's that gap in the tape, right, with the security guards and all of that. Do you think we'll learn anything else?
I'll say again, this is a tough spot for me to sit in. You have a Department of Justice that is withholding information and finding new avenues to deny that information to being shared. I'm suspect and suspicious. We want to see it. We want to know. The public wants to understand what actually happened, though I think that issue has been put to rest about whether it was a suicide or an inside job. But if it's there, I see no reason why it would not be shared other than active investigation.
Can Donald Trump do anything more than he's doing? It's been said a lot that he could release the files right now without having gone through Congress and the rest of it. Because won't this just continue to dog his administration forever and ever? I mean, if he doesn't do everything he can, I understand redacting the names of child sex abuse victims, obviously, and/or material related to that. But you know, what about the names of other men who may have associated with Epstein or been accused of crimes as well?
Sharon, anyone who's watching this should have zero misgivings, no misgivings. Donald Trump has the ability to share those files far more completely than what he is doing now, which is little to none of substance. He does not need Congress. I said that when we first started. You don't need congressional legislation to allow the president to release those Department of Justice files. You don't need it there. You don't need a judge to go to, say, the grand jury minutes are released, because I would share with you again, whatever's in that little piece of grand jury is clearly within the greater files that Donald Trump has within his control. So the direct answer to your question, yes, he can. Why he's not doing it, we're going back to that speculation. He may have some involvement or people close to him, criminal or not, we don't know.
So lastly, I want to ask you about the 30 days. The Department of Justice has to do something right in 30 days, even if there is large chunks of it withheld.
Right.
Do you expect them to abide by that deadline, and would it happen tomorrow, or is it just simply too much paperwork to go through? Would they take longer?
Well, they've gone through that paperwork. Let's not be naive and foolish, right? They've looked. This is not their first rodeo with Mr. Epstein. I would expect that they would release something. And I would also expect that they're going to use the carve out to say we can't release more at this time. But I do think they'll comply, but I use that term very liberally and somewhat cavalierly, because they won't be compliant, but they will comply to the letter of the law to allow and share some information. But we're going in circles only because none of us know what they're going to ultimately do, but I think they're going to hold it tight to the chest.
All right, Jeremy Saland, we're going to leave it there. Comply, but not compliant. I'm going to remember that one. All right. Sounds like you did very well on your SATs. I'm enjoying that. All right, Jeremy, thank you so much. I hope you join us again real soon. We appreciate it. And we are going to take another quick break from our fast-moving streaming show. I'm Sharon Crowley, along with our